Buenas noches, 9:10 p.m. here in Mexico City. Naeem Moran speaking to you, and after a week where Mexican football returned, I think that's the main piece of news. What occurred in the last 48 hours. I mean, kind of a piece of Mexico has kind of returned to normality. The football aspect of it. The rest, as you know, it's been difficult since September 19th. After the earthquake that struck Mexico City, Morelos, Puebla, and even the one before that, early September, the one that struck Chiapas and Oaxaca. So it's been difficult days so far in off the field, but I think Liga MX responded adequately to the whole situation. But now let's get back into the game and what occurred in the last hour. So over there in Guadalajara, I have Tom Marshall. Tom, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ahí. Muchas gracias. Yeah, really, difficult times really for the whole country with the earthquake. But I don't know. I mean, it felt good to get the football going again, for people to go to the stadiums, to kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it sounds too light, but kind of take the minds off it as well. Obviously, a really sad, tragic event. But yeah, great to see the media outlets in the United States as well come together to kind of, to put those rivalries aside and come together and support each other. So, yeah. Tobago, Honduras.
Yeah, Tom, repeat your part about the national team call-up. What were we going to say? You there, Tom?
Hello. Yeah.
Yep. It cut a little bit after that part that you were telling them about, the networks coming together in the States, and then you proceeded to go on something else.
Oh yeah, it was just obviously with the Mexico squad coming out. I mean, what was for you when you saw it? What was your initial reaction?
No, I think looking at the list, I think there's this sense from Osorio that he's trying to bring all the pieces together. Still growing that idea that he wants to impose in the team, and he doesn't want to mix it that much. I mean, I think the fact that we see the list already with a good number of players that we already know, I think it's heavily European based still. And I think there was this idea that perhaps, knowing that they already had the ticket to the World Cup, that there was a good opportunity to give opportunities to several youngsters that are standing out so far at the start of the season. But I think what I believe is that, there's this sense of trying to continue finding the consistency and the players understanding the roles that they have on the field, no?
Yeah, I mean, I asked Osorio in Costa Rica before the game. I said, what kind of things do you want to see this team improve on from now to the World Cup? And it was quite interesting looking back at that answer that he gave, because he said there's a lot of things we have to improve, but he said the one thing we don't have is time. And he said, he needs to use all the time possible that between now and the World Cup, to obviously work with the players on the training pitch and obviously in high quality games. And obviously the news that Mexico will be playing Belgium and Poland kind of fits in with that. But I think that the squad announcement fits in with that answer as well. The one thing he doesn't have is time. And I think, there will be some criticism, and I've already seen it on social networks, that, why is he not experimenting a bit more? Why is he not calling in, the younger players? But I mean, from my point of view now, usually I'm a big fan of bringing in the young players and, giving them opportunity. Yeah. But, since Osorio's taken charge, 36 games, and he's given 63 players minutes. Now, I think experimented. I think he's looked at the depth chart, and I think now, 9 months from the World Cup, he's decided the fringe players basically are not even near, I don't think, challenging the established, and those, like you said, Naeem, there for me are obviously the ones based in Europe, predominantly those based in Europe. I think that's the core group, and Osorio's made the decision that he knows what's coming through, but he feels can do the best job at the World Cup, and the best strategy between now and then as possible with him.
Yeah. I mean, I think those training sessions are important, specifically with how Osorio works, and that memoria colectiva, the collective memory that we mentioned. And that's something to make emphasis about. If there was a moment for experimenting, it was in the Gold Cup. And maybe the results weren't pleasing to the eye, perhaps. But I think in that moment, for example, a player like Orbelín Pineda got his shot a lot of minutes. And now he's not on this list because in Orbelín Pineda is a specific case right now that is quite strange, because when you look at the list right now, for example, you see Gutiérrez on the list and not Orbelín. So does that mean that is Gutiérrez closer to a World Cup place than Orbelín Pineda, even though Orbelín has had many minutes with Juan Carlos Osorio? But I think what you just mentioned, Tom, there was a moment for experimenting. I think that happened in the Gold Cup. But now, there are names. I think the one that resonates right now is Guzman and Pachuca because of the amount of goals he scored as of late. And then the Omar Gobea in Moscron, who hasn't been at all in the picture, but his game and his form are stuff that llama la atención. It catches your eye when you see a player in Europe scoring goals and being important at their club.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you can make good cases for Victor Guzman, the way he's played this season, and not just this season, but ever since that final, really. Was it the Clausura 2016 when he scored the goal? And obviously with the youth national team career he's had as well. And Gouveia, yeah, I mean, I think they're on the right track. You know what I mean? I really do think that they're on the path, but I just think that now 9 months from the World Cup, those kind of players now have a lot to do. I'm not saying they can't get in the squad, but I just think they've got a lot to do. And don't get me wrong, they are doing it. But I think that it's going to be difficult from now at this point. But just going back to two things with the Gold Cup. I found it interesting with this squad. If you look at the players that are there, Edson Alvarez, for me, he was such a bright spot for Mexico in the Gold Cup. He's now, for me, pushing for a starting spot at right back. I think it's him, Carlos Salcedo. They're going to be pushing for the right back spot. Jesus Corona in goal. He didn't seem like Osorio really liked him that much. He was kind of, he preferred Talavera and Ochoa. And now all of a sudden, Jesus Corona's playing quite well at Cruz Azul, and he's back. He's there. And the other one, Elias Hernandez.
Yeah.
He set up 2 goals last night for León against Club America, and he's there as well. So it's like, I think if you were to say which were the 3 best players for Mexico at the Gold Cup, I'd think you'd say those 3, and they're all the 3 in this squad. This is my other point, Naib, and it's interesting to see what you think, because I know you've spoken to Orbelín Pineda before. I think we both kind of were fans of the player. I think we like what he's done, but really, I've not seen it this season. At the Gold Cup, I didn't think he was. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it was terrible, blah blah blah. I thought he missed the opportunity, but since then, something's not been right, and I can't quite put my finger on what has happened with him, because in the last 3 Chivas games now he's been on the bench, and for a player of that talent,
it's alarming.
For me, it's alarming. It tells me that something's going on, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
I'm not sure what.
I think Orbelín is going through that phase, which is interesting, and it tends to happen with Mexican footballers. Is you win a lot of things. It happened with Gallito Vázquez, for example, after the bicampeonato with León. It took him time to sort of catch it. We sense that Gallito had already done everything he had to do in Liga MX. I mean, he won the bicampeonato, he went to the World Cup and did a great job over there. So what's the next step, Tom? The next step is to go to Europe, and it didn't happen. He went to Chivas and has been part of this renaissance in Chivas, where, the team is competing and won the title last season. And I think the same could be said about Orbelín Pineda. I think Orbelín Pineda has been always rumored to be kind of scouted by European clubs. I mean, I think that's something that has been happening as of late in Guadalajara. I remember in the season when America eliminated Chivas over there of Estadio Chivas, we talked about that, that there was probably this rumor in his brain that Manchester City wanted him, and that there was connections there, and that might have sort of not made him give a great performance. I don't know what happened exactly in the summer, but I think after winning the title with Chivas, there is this period of relaxation. It's like, what's next? Is it another it's defining really what he wants, and I think if Orbelin is smart, I think what's next is the World Cup, and then after that you can start thinking about going to Europe. But unfortunately, I think he sort of misinterpreted the process of taking each step at a time.
Yeah, I think the positive for Orbelin Pineda right now is that he's got two coaches at club and international level. If you listen to what Mateus Almeida said about Orbelin Pineda, remember I asked Almeida once I said about the Manchester City rumor, and I said, is it true? Have you heard anything? And he was like, Almeida said it doesn't surprise me one bit, and he said that if Orbelin Pineda leaves Chivas, it's to go to a giant club. So you imagine a player like Orbelin Pineda, who's from like a very humble background. It's difficult for those things not to go to your head. But yeah, and I think Osorio as well loves Orbelin Pineda, but Orbelin Pineda has to do it on the field for Chivas. He has to do it in the training day to day, because basically the door to the World Cup is there for him. But obviously he has to. His path getting there is through Chivas, and right now he's not doing it. Just changing the subject, Naib, just to Pineda's teammate Pizarro. A lot of people suggesting that Pizarro. For me, I think Orbelin Pineda, if he's not starting, he's not playing for Chivas, he shouldn't be getting in the national team. I think that's it's quite simple. But I think Rodolfo Pizarro has been playing okay for Chivas. He scored that amazing goal in the midweek. And Chivas have been doing really badly, but at least he's trying to kind of make things happen. And I think that if you can make a case, probably more for Rodolfo Pizarro.
No, and I think Rodolfo Pizarro enters that the arena, I would say, when it comes to deciding. I personally have a feeling, I don't know, the Giovanni Dos Santos and Jonathan Dos Santos case is just interesting right now. I mean, since Jonathan signed with the Galaxy, he hasn't won a single game with the club. The club is out of the playoff picture already in MLS. So that means that they're going to miss a significant amount of playing time, competitive minutes. Giovanni Dos Santos hasn't given that much to the national team as of late. And I think that's where Rodolfo Pizarro lands. I think that's the person that's going to directly compete with Giovanni Dos Santos for a World Cup spot. However, I mean, I'm not seeing that. I mean, I think it seems that after the Gold Cup, which wasn't that good for Pizarro, but he still managed to score. And who knows what would have happened in the Gold Cup had Alan Pulido played, because I think Alan Pulido and Pizarro make an excellent partnership, dishing out the passes in the final third. But I just see there that Rodolfo Pizarro is a direct competitor with Giovanni Dos Santos. Jonathan Dos Santos' case is more, complex, because I do think that Jonathan has been remarkable with the national team. However, how is this poor form at club level, or the fact that he's not having impactful minutes with the club is going to affect his form for the national team? Perhaps right now we're not going to see the deficiencies, but what about next year? Will we start seeing some deficiencies in Jonathan Dos Santos' game because he's not having the competitive minutes that a player of his sort requires? Tom?
No, it's concerning. I mean, I'm looking over the squad again now, and you look at the central midfielders, and especially the holding midfield role, and there's not much now. I mean, obviously Hector Herrera has been filling in there. I think he's really good when Mexico are coming up against a team in Mexico, because I think Herrera, the way he moves the ball is exceptional. He's very, very good at it. But I question whether defensively, he's not played that position, and I think that it's a position that requires a lot of spatial awareness, and you have to position yourself very well, especially defending the opposition counterattacks. And we know that that's a weakness for Mexico. Mexico push so many players forward sometimes that that they get caught on the break. And I think that holding midfield role, that's the role that has to be. It's a major responsibility to stop.
Well, real quick, Tom, about the midfield role. I mean, I think one of the things that I've done since the season started in Europe is to analyze how these midfielders work. I think fortunately now that Herrera is playing more often, it wasn't happening at the start of the season. That was worrying, but now he captained in a Champions League match in Monaco. They won 4-0, right? I think it was over there against Falcao's team. And it's just looking at the positioning of the of players, of Herrera and Guardado specifically, because I think those two are just fundamental for Osorio. They're always going to be in the starting 11. So when you see Guardado and when you see Herrera in their clubs, they do have a holding midfielder. In Betis, they have Javi Garcia. In FC Porto, they have Danilo. And I think that's what Mexico needs. Mexico needs to find a footballer that can play that role, which would allow Herrera and Guardado to move more freely up front. It happened in the World Cup in 2014. It was Gallito Vázquez. And Gallito Vázquez right now is a Mexican midfielder that has the best passing rate in the league right now. So that tells you something. But it doesn't have that, physicality, or however you want to note it, that doesn't go with Osorio, I would assume. Now, when you look at your options available on this list, for example, maybe giving Edson Alvarez a shot in that role and see what he can do, because now you have Salcedo, and you also have Reyes, who can play as a right back.
Yeah.
But it's finding that holding midfield, which I think is one of the problems to solve.
Yeah, I've actually I wrote a story about this recently. It's not been published yet, but I start off the story with Guido Pizarro, because remember, I think January 2016, Osorio, made it public that he wanted Guido Pizarro, and I think that basically that is the player that Osorio's looking for, and right now, and I mean, a lot of national teams will be looking for Guido Pizarro, to be honest. But I mean, that's the player, because he's decent on the ball, from playing out the back. He's not amazing ball player. He's not Rafa Marquez, for example, but he's quite good. But he's also very good defensively, very good positionally, very good tactically in terms of knowing when to, going for the tackle, knowing when to do a tactical foul as well. Element as well in terms of his aerial ability. And, I think that the fact that Osorio wanted Pizarro, it tells me a lot about what he wants from that position. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's just a case of with the Mexican national team. I think a lot of national teams, it's the nature of international football, is that you can't go out and buy somebody.
Yeah.
And I think Osorio has to find the solution. But I completely agree with you about Edson Alvarez. I think that I wish there was 2 years to the World Cup, because I think again, Osorio's in a race against time with Edson Alvarez. But I think he could be a great possibility in the holding role, and I hope he does. I hope Osorio does give Edson Alvarez the role, because for me, if you ask me what young Mexican player excites you right now, or which Mexican player would you put $50 on to say this player is going to do good things in his career, I'd put it on Edson Alvarez. I'd put him above Pizarro, above Eric Gutierrez, above Pineda, above any. I think he's that good, and I like how he carries himself off the field. I like how he gives interviews. He's got confidence, but not an arrogance about him. And I think he's got a big future. And I'd like to see Osorio put him in that holding role and to see what he can do.
Yeah, no, and one of the points, it seems funny right now to actually say it, but I think having a good holding midfielder takes you a lot of places. I mean, I think that's the main reason Real Madrid has been so successful, is because they found Casemiro. And Casemiro is just a machine, in the midfield. He does fouls. Some are nastier than others, but that's what you want from your holding midfielder, to do those fouls and to also, distribute the ball adequately. Also, it was interesting. Osorio has mentioned also that he wishes in Mexico that there was some type of a Gattuso. In Mexico, it's hard to find those. Gattuso was just specific, but that's the type of midfielder that maybe Mexico needs. And here's the complication: maybe it is Gallito, but it could possibly be Edson. I mean, I think Edson, because of what he offers on the aerial game, I mean, it becomes an interesting option. But real quick, Tom, also another thing to note here, because some of the European-based players are not having that much minutes. I mean, look at Moreno. Look at Salcedo, because that started and then all of a sudden he's not even on the squad. I think having those to come over, Layun scored this week in Monaco, but it doesn't mean that he's playing constantly. He's coming off the bench. Diego Reyes is coming off the bench. He's not a sure starter as well. So I think that is really important to make an emphasis. Vela doesn't really play at Real Sociedad at the moment. So I think bringing in those players also has to do with giving them competitive minutes, which they're not having in Europe at the moment.
No, yeah, definitely. No, I was actually surprised that Hector Moreno, for example, has been carrying an injury. Carlos Salcedo, he admitted yesterday that he had an injury. No, he didn't mention it before. And I think there was rumors in the Mexican press that there was a problem with the coach at Eintracht Frankfurt. And also, who else I thought was going to be
Bella? You mentioned.
I think just one. Yeah, and Bella, yeah, because he was left out the Europa League squad and left out the squad last weekend. So, but obviously they're not serious injuries, and yeah, I think there's two elements: one, minutes, and two, Osorio needs to work with his players. Like going back to the original point, this is the squad. This is you can basically name of the Mexican team that's going to start up. I mean, I think it's becoming clearer, and if you study Osorio and what he's done, I think obviously in terms of the press, it seems like it's so random and people don't understand it, but it's simple, to be honest. I mean, his team is what it is. I mean, obviously there's a couple of formational differences, but modern managers do that, and I think you can name probably 90% of the squad right now, to be honest. I mean, if you look at the players there was only 4 changes between this 25-man squad and the one for the games early this month. Jesus Dueñas was out, which was a surprise to me. I think Dueñas, he's a good player, but I thought more than anything he gives you a right back option as well. And I think I always assumed that Osorio liked the fact give you a midfield option in the centre, but then he can also drop in at right back if you need it. But he's missing out. Jürgen Damm's out because of injury. Obviously, and then Orbelin Pineda, and the other one is slipping my mind now. Can't remember. But yeah, there's four changes from the last one.
No, which is not that many. I mean, I think the forward position is pretty set. The wing game is pretty set. I mean, I think we understand that the influence that Tecatito and Chucky Lozano will have in the starting 11s will be huge. It really heavily depends on those two, on how much generation they can do in the final third. With Elias Hernandez, I think it will be important because not having Dam there as the competitor, and Elias is always, up there in the assists. He showed it in the game against America with that pass to Boselli. I mean, we know of that quality. I think it's just about translating that club quality into national teams, especially in these moments where it seems that the plate will be for him if he takes advantage, in these 2 games, one in San Luis Potosí, and the other one, of course, it will be over there in Honduras. And it's just an intriguing situation now because there's going to be teams that are going to depend on Mexico's, performance this year. If they're able to win both games, that's going to help a lot the U.S. probably. And it's totally the opposite of what happened, 4 years ago. So it's interesting to see there how they'll take the games. And another announcement today, Tom, is that the Euro Tour is on. I mean, it's November 10th against Belgium and November 13th against Poland. 2 teams that were in the quarterfinals in the 2016 Euro.
No, yeah. Just quick one on Elias Hernandez going back there. The only thing with Elias Hernandez, I think, is a really good player. He proves it week in, week out. He's just, if you look at a World Cup, Mexico playing in a World Cup, and you look at the wingers they've got, I just don't know in what circumstances you put on Elias Hernandez. I mean, do you put him on ahead of Javier Aquino, for example?
No, because Javier.
Say you're in, it's the 60th, 70th minute. Do you put Hernandez on instead of Lozano, instead of, who am I missing out now? Tecatito. I think you've got your 4 wingers there, to be honest. And I think then you've got Jürgen Damm. And obviously, Damm's kind of a bit like, he's hit and miss, but Osorio really likes him. And the option Damm gives you, if you play a 3-4-3, is that he can play as that kind of wide midfielder, if you like. You know what I mean? And I don't think Elias Hernandez gives you that. So, I don't know. I think Elias Hernandez, I think you're right there. He's got work to do still for me, even though he's in such good form. But yeah, going to the games, it's exactly what Mexico need. Going over there to Europe, I think it's good for the Euro-based players as well because they won't have to travel much. And yeah, we're gonna, we know Osorio's reign so far. good in general. You know, look at the results. The results are good, but there's big question marks, and the question marks have come when Mexico have played big teams. When they've come up against Chile and they come up against Germany, they've come unstuck. Basically, for me, Nayib, I see it like this: Mexico doesn't often get a chance to play against teams that are as individuals better than them. You know what I mean? So if you look at the 1 to 11, you think, oh, that team's better than Mexico. Like, for example, against Germany, you could say that. Against Chile, you could say that. I know people won't agree with that, but if you've got a team with Arturo Vidal, Alexis Sanchez, you know, these kind of players, it's a better team than Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the same with Belgium and arguably Poland as well. Because you look at some of the way these Polish players are playing, and you know they're doing really big things for big clubs. And same with the Belgian players. I mean, the Belgian players. I mean, it's
a bright generation. It's a bright generation, the Belgian one. I mean, I think, yeah, Tom.
No, just that Osorio needs to. It's not a competitive game. You can't kind of bring in the pressure of a competitive game, but it's so rare for Mexico to get these opportunities that it's got to be a positive. It's got to be something that Osorio can, you know, give him some evidence of how he can improve, because Osorio, we know how much he studies, and you know from that Chile defeat, the Germany defeat, he'll have solutions. You know what I mean? He'll know what he wants to work on so that those things don't happen again. And obviously, it's one thing to have a solution in your head, another one for it to be implemented on the pitch. But it's there, you know what I mean? So I think he needs these games to kind of work through those solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you see these opportunities specifically with Belgium, what really intriguing about that team, in my opinion, is how Vertonghen tends to actually act like another midfielder, even though he's a central defender. And that kind of stuff you don't see in CONCACAF, that your central defender is so good that he goes all the way to the, you know, outside of the box and takes shots. You know, that's how they got the win, I think, against Greece the last time I watched them. With Poland, I think they basically have one of the best strikers in the world. I mean, it's Lewandowski. And finally, Tom, we're going to see Lewandowski versus Lewandowski. I mean, that it doesn't get better than that, you know. But like you said, this weekend actually, the Portri faced a Polish defender, Glik, who plays for Monaco. He's probably going to be in that match in November. But you know, I know that these are not teams like Spain or Germany or France, you know, which was suspected that it might have been the opponents that El Tri was going to have, but they're still up there. I mean, I think the talent is just phenomenal. I mean, when you see the squad list for Belgium, I mean, you see all these teams that they have: Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, Tottenham. You know, they're playing in the best league of the world, around the best leagues of the world. With Poland, I mean, I think, like you said, Tom, arguably, you know, I think there could be some, how would say, I mean, some degree of balance between the two. I think Mexico can compete against Poland, but I think it will be interesting to see how Osorio really takes on these matches and what specific roles he's going to give to each of the players. But I mean, I think it's exciting times. I think those friendlies will leave a lot of good conclusions overall.
Yeah, and I think the way Belgium play with Roberto Martinez, I mean, that's going to be a great game, because you got two teams that are going to really go for it. You know, two technically really good teams, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. It's rare you get the opportunity to see Mexico in that environment. So we saw it at the Confederations Cup, and we're going to see it obviously in November. So a great way to close out the year. But yeah, any final thoughts on the national team before going to the Liga MX?
No, I think, you know, for conclusions, I would say that I think one of the conclusions, just by looking at the list, is that I think Osorio already has a good idea of the 23. You know, I think when you see the forwards, for example, it's the strikers, Peralta, Chicharo, Raúl, as the main ones. But, you know, it beckons the question, will someone like Alan Pulido emerge, you know, from now to the World Cup, you know, and because, I mean, when you hear speak Pais and Osorio, they speak highly of Pulido. I mean, he's not that far from Raúl, Chicharo, and Peralta. I mean, if he includes Pulido, does that mean that he takes off a winger and includes him instead, or how does he? Because I think when you look at Pulido and Peralta, they're not just your normal strikers that are in the box. They connect really well outside the box. And I think that's one of the important aspects to point, because, for example, when you see someone like Chicharo playing on the left wing, I think Pulido could manage well in the left wing because he does move the ball well and he can cross into the box and he can move and take shots outside the box. So it's an interesting option from now until, the World Cup list will come out, no?
Yeah, I think it's Peralta or Pulido, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the other ones are nailed down. Raul Jimenez is one of the players with most minutes. I mean, he doesn't start all the games, but he regularly, he's pretty much always involved, put it that way. And he can play on the left wing or the right wing, as well. So I think Pulido's still got work to do. I know he was good for Chivas, but I think there's still that kind of lingering. And the Mexico coaching staff like him. Like Osorio and his coaching staff really like what Pulido could potentially bring. But yeah, I think Chicharito's obviously there, and then Raul Jimenez obviously there, and I think Peralta's just ahead of Pulido right now. But it's going to depend on what happens between now and then.
It's going to depend also on what happens with Vela, because Vela, as we know, is ending his time in Spain, and now he's going to LAFC. Who knows how that project will be, the LAFC? Will it be like Atlanta United? It'd be nice if it's like Atlanta United. But, because you see the impact, but it's Tata Martino. I mean, there's a reason behind why that team is playing so well. It's Bob Bradley like Tata Martino. It's a whole different story, no? I mean, you gotta see all those small details, and that's where even right now, I don't feel 100% sure that Vela, Jonathan, and Giovanni will be in the World Cup. I think there's potential that there could be tweaks there because I don't know. I mean, I think Osorio really needs to think if there's better options than those three.
I think Jonathan is there.
Okay. Jonathan is there. Okay, we'll keep Jonathan, but the other two, I don't know.
And I think Vela's there. I just think he can give you something, and I don't think that's going to change with going to LAFC, depending on what's going on behind the scenes, because obviously he missed out the Germany game. What was his reaction to that? You know what I mean? Behind the scenes, but the fact that Osorio's still calling him in tells me that he reacted well, that he's maybe more mature than he was previously.
Yeah.
For me, the big one is Giovanni Dos Santos, because you can't not be playing well for LA Galaxy and getting the squad, because Mexico have got a lot of. It's a positional thing as well.
Exactly.
A left-footed player. You've already got Vela there, so it's like Giovanni and Vela are not too dissimilar as players either. So I mean, that's the factor for me. I think it's Giovanni Dos Santos is the one that he has to show something between now and the World Cup, because he's not doing it at the minute. He's not doing it for the national team. He's not doing it for Galaxy. So naturally, when you're playing for a national team that is looking to get to a quarter-final, you can't be guaranteed your place. And I don't think Giovanni Dos Santos is. Yeah,
no, we'll see exactly how that works out. I mean, talking about left-footed players, I think Gutierrez is one of the best left-footed players in Liga MX right now, and he's in the list. And when we're talking about if Osorio sees Giovanni as a left midfielder in a 4-3-3, I mean, Guti's a way better option in my opinion than Giovanni. The thing here is that Giovanni already has World Cup experience. Giovanni already had a good World Cup. I think in 2014 he excelled, but if you compare the 2014 to where are we now, I mean, it's a huge drop. With the total opposite, for example, with Guardado. I think Guardado is a way better player than he was in 2014, and that just tells you a little bit of the mentality. Happy birthday to Andres Guardado, by the way. I think a great years that he's had since the World Cup, and right now with Betis, he's just dazzling. I mean, it's just, you can see some brightness on the field every time he touches the ball. But moving on the Liga MX, I mean, Tom, the situation with Chivas, they lose to Lobos. Lobos 2 back-to-back wins already, away wins, by the way, without Julian Quiñones, their top goal scorer, which I think has to be mentioned, that even without their best player on the field, they're winning games. It tells a little bit of the idea. Pedro Aquino, Luis Advíncula, 2 Peruvians, on the verge of qualifying to the World Cup. Imagine if Peru makes the World Cup. They actually have the chance of doing it, and they're playing great in Lobos. But over here with Chivas, I don't know if is the playoff story over, or is there still a chance to see them reach the Liguilla, Tom?
You don't want to definitively say that they're out because they're the champion and they can beat any other team. You know, we saw how they played against Tigres last season in the final of the Citario, and they can do it. And obviously this Saturday they'll go there, but they need to win at least the last times. That's not happened because, quite frankly, Lobos WAP was abysmal. Like, I just can't. I mean, I twitched on the game completely. You know, Chivas for it to be a really open game, but Chivas to have kind of been, you know, fueled by the break. Have more like urgency. Needed this win to put them closer to the playoff race, and for them to go down like that. All right, Escoto's goal was absolutely amazing.
Puskas.
Yeah, the Puskas goal. But for Chivas to play that poorly, it was difficult to we can talk tactics and we can talk this, but you know, Ice Hernandez, a player who was so good last season in the title run, twice just like passed the ball to for no real reason, not under pressure. You know, Chapo Sanchez as well, playing so poorly. Carlos Fierro completely shown of confidence once again. And I think Almeida, to be honest, made mistakes. I thought that he should have used the international break to kind of bring on Brizuela, to get him back in the starting 11. Maybe even Cisneros. I know Alan Pulido's slightly different. I thought maybe he didn't look match fit to me. I know that he had an early chance and he nearly scored early when he came on, but he didn't look match fit. He didn't look confident. And yeah, I think if you're a Chivas fan and you see that first half, it was extremely worrying. On the positive side, though, they did react in the second half. Although after a initial 20-minute period, Lobos WAP were able to wrestle the game back from them. So
that was a strange game, no, Tom, because I mean, looking at the stats, Carlos Salcido had a good game. I mean, Carlos Salcido is a veteran, and like you said before, Tom, I think he does. It's not the same kind of speed in the tempo of the team. It's different when Salcido's on the field. Of course, Pereira's out with an injury, and that kind of affects a little bit that tempo. But with the situation there with Chivas, I mean, it's been unfortunate. No, I think the Pulido injury does hurt them, because he's the main striker, and the number of goals he provides. Maybe it wasn't that much last season in the regular season, but once the Liga came in, you could see the difference. But now, it's hard to not have your best striker for a half of the season, no? And I think you can see that in the stats. The numbers of scoring are very low for Chivas. And with those numbers, you just can't compete in Liga, especially when you see teams like Monterrey that are scoring goals from all over the place.
His problem with scoring goes back. I mean, it goes back a few years even. Pulido kind of offered a solution, but you play with someone like Fierro on the wing, and you look at his goal scoring, and it's abysmal. It's absolutely a player. And then on Angel's a good all-round player, but he doesn't have that kind of goal scoring instinct. I mean, if you look at how many goals he's got from penalties and how many from open play, I mean, for a player, now 23 years old, it's not need to have wingers that can inside and that can offer a bit more, goal threat, because of the Chivas, you think, where's the goal threat? Saliba scored 18 goals in 95 games, but I imagine 7-8 of those are from the penalty spot. So if you put 10 goals in 95 games, right? But yeah, I think it is a difficult one with Chivas. I think that with Almeida as well, like I said, I mean, Chofi Lopez still I know people out there think he's, really good and doing key passes stuff, but he's not. I don't know. He's inconsistent. Like you want him to run. He's not doing enough for me. To talent says he should impact games more. And yeah, is he terrible? No, of course not. But I don't know. Now how old is he now? And Almeida's worked with him in training day in, day out, because Almeida's just pointed out and he said to the press, Chofis Lopez is a player that can be a really top class player. And to be honest, I'm not seeing it. And I wonder if it goes back to that old thing where basically, as a player for me, he's never done anything. He's 23 years old. He's never done anything. Really doesn't. He's 6 goals in the league. More on the field to warrant that hype right now.
Yeah, Tom. I think there with what you said about Chivas. I mean, the players like Chofis not being in top shape, Saliver not being on his best form. Of course, we talked earlier on in the show about Orbelín Pineda not even being a starter in the team. Does that have to do? Do you think that has to do? That's always a problem with the Mexican footballer, no? That it seems to always fall in these traps of inconsistency. It's hard to define a Mexican footballer who can mark a good trajectory of 2 years of consistent football, and it's difficult. I think Almeida's finding that out. Of course, there's been talks about campeonitis and how did that affect the team. But for example, you see Lobos WAP. Lobos finished with 9 Mexican footballers on the field. What does that say about Lobos' Mexican footballers? I mean, they got something to prove. You see, for example, Maza Rodriguez. They're hungry. Yeah. Maza Rodriguez, look, all of a sudden was just lost, thought that he wasn't going to play anymore, and now he's like this leader type of defender. Negrito Medina as well there. It's just interesting to see. You saw the two sides of the Mexican footballer.
Escoto, he scored that amazing. He was playing in Guatemala. No offense to the Guatemalan league, but for him to come out of that league, almost up in the second division, and then be doing stuff like that in Estadio Chivas is remarkable. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a good point now. The hunger that showed is unbelievable. And yeah, without Julian Quiñones, and I think from the player's point of view, Julian Quiñones is for me one of the most talented in this league. And from his point of view and for the league's point of view, I hope he sorts himself out. You know what I mean? He could have a massive future, like something like Jackson Martinez or something like that. I think he's very, very good.
No, definitely. I think that is one of the main storylines. I think overall the game had a good tempo. Lobos, Chivas. I think we saw. I think Rafa Puente, with what he's just done with so little in Lobos, I think that's just remarkable. I think the way that he's been able to sort of go high, start high, then go through a slump, and then kind of go back high. I think that's really impressive. Because, for example, Necaxa with Poncho Sosa, when they came up to first division, it wasn't that enticing football. It was pretty defensive, sit back, rely on Edson Puch and his magic, and voila. With El Lobos, you could definitely see the style that is really it's really La Volpista in a way. When La Volpe was fun to watch, that is kind of the style that Puentes Lobos have. But another game, Tom.
Yeah.
I think there was plenty of main storylines, but I think the Pachuca Cruz Azul, because of the score line, because Cruz Azul finished its great undefeated streak with Gemes, but I think it was a battering. No, I think no one expected Cruz Azul to lose that badly. Of course, something to point out. They didn't have Cata Dominguez. You have Velázquez, who's been important in the defense, and also Peñalba. So I think those were 3 important misses for Cruz Azul in that match, where Pachuca clearly showed some grit and showed a lot of attacking power.
The game was very, very good. Herrera, who's normally a centre-back at right-back. I thought it gave the team a lot of solidity at the back. And deep. And they invited Cruz Azul on. I mean, Pachuca aren't known for being a defensive team. And I'm not saying they were defensive, but they were just very... Everybody knows Cruz Azul, Paco Gemes, what do? They pile forward, they throw players forward, they risk it at the back, marking one-on-one. So I think Alonso basically said, okay, that's how they're going to play. How can we beat them? Okay, we'll sit deep and we'll play with Bush and Oreta Vizcaya.
Yeah.
We'll move Honda to the bench, play with those three up front. And basically, all four of Pachuca's goals came on counter-attacks. All four of them. No, that's no kind of casualidad. That's because that was how Pachuca's game plan was set up. And then obviously, Juan scores a goal. But Cruz Azul had the moments. And I mean, if Cruz Azul, obviously, Naive, you mentioned there defensively, but they should have scored at least one goal. They had that 15-20 minute period after half time, and they were dominant. And I thought Pachuca were kind of on the rack. They were 2-0 up, but if Cruz Azul would have got that goal, then it could have been a different outcome. But yeah, Pachuca needed this victory. I mean, I think the season has been really, and hopefully this kind of injects a bit of life into it now. It's going to be interesting as well, just quickly before you jump in, to see how they won this weekend, because that's such a so it's a positive side for Pachuca, the undefeated run. And you think now, next you've got Cruz Azul away at Pumas, playing over there in Querétaro. Big game now for Cruz Azul. You wouldn't want to lose against Pumas, especially this Pumas playing so poorly right now. And you've got Pachuca at home to Necaxa. So for Pachuca, because if they're on 12 points now, if they can get a win against Necaxa, you feel like they're really, really back in the playoff race.
Yeah, no, and it tells you a little bit of how the league works, no, Tom? I mean, from one week to the other, you're in the mix. I mean, look at León. León started horrible, and now with Chavo Diaz came in with 3 straight wins, and now they're up there. Cholos started awful this season, and then with a couple of wins, they're up there. And now it looks like they're a dominant force, but Tigres managed to tame them, as it is always the case. Tigres finds ways. It might not be pretty, but they find those wins that are significant. And beating Cholos in Tijuana is an important result. With Pachuca, I mean, like you said, Tom, I mean, they did work the counter, but I mean, I think that's been some of the keys to their success. That the speed that Oreta Vizcaya brings, and also the speed that we saw from Guzman. I mean, when he took on the ball on the center half and then went all the way into the box and scored, I mean, it showed you the not only the quality, but I think more the confidence of the player. I think that's what we're seeing with Guzman, who's probably en route of scoring 10 goals this season. And to see a Mexican footballer score 10 goals in Liga MX is not common. I mean, I don't remember. I think Angel Reina did it once. But I don't recall as Chicharito maybe did it as well. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how that development occurs with Pachuca, with Guzman, with Keisuke Honda, because he doesn't look like he's gonna be a sure start. I mean, it was at the end of the game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I saw like he was playing as a false 9. I mean, that's how the goal derived. That he was as a center forward, but more as the false 9, and that's how the goal produced. And with Cruz Azul, I mean, I think that the scoring problem is noticeable, I mean, you have Cauterucho and you have Felipe Mora, 2 great forwards from South America. I mean, Felipe Mora was coming from Chile with great numbers. Cauterucho the same, and it's just off. It's just sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but it's mostly bad. And I think if Cruz Azul wants to compete against Monterrey, compete against America, compete against Cholos, those 2 have to score. I mean, because as we saw yesterday, at the beginning of the season, I think Edgar Mendez was really up. I think it was great to see his goals, but then he just kind of started going low and didn't provide that much, neither assists nor goals. And now, you know, you need those goals from Cauterucho and Mora, no?
Look at the teams you just mentioned. I mean, Tigres, Gignac, Valencia, you know, Vargas up front. You know, Cholos now have a ball banging in the goals. Bolaños, you got Ituro, not quite settled yet for me, but
Yeah,
you know, he's obviously and Cruz Azul haven't had that. You know what I mean? They haven't had that player who's going to get them goals this season, and I think that's something that's missing from Cruz Azul. But they spent enough money to try and get it. It's just a case of it coming together. But yeah, quickly over Tijuana Tigres for me. Tijuana together, but I watched that game and I think these are two teams that they're going to be in the playoffs, to be honest. And that's another thing. The same for America, amazing from a point of view. Side, I like the way America played. To be honest, I thought a couple of the chances of the way they would have won that game. But again, if you don't put them away, then a team like Leon could manage it. It always goes under the radar. No, I feel like it's only in Leon people talk about Boselli, but you look at season after season putting that team, incredible. I mean, he's topping the scoring charts now, and I think, I mean, what a player he's been for that club, to be honest.
No. Boselli, I think, is a perfect striker. I mean, I think, you know, when you look at these teams, like for example, I'm pretty sure a lot of Cruz Azul fans would want a Boselli. I'm pretty sure a lot of America fans would want a Boselli. You know, I think those are a few cases where you see that this guy comes to Mexico, you know, after, you know, a great record over there in Argentina. I remember, I think it was with Estudiantes. And then he goes to Europe, and his success is not that successful of an adventure. And then he comes to Mexico, and I mean, it works perfectly. You know, he's probably going to finish as the historic goal scorer in León. I don't know if it looks like he wants to retire in the club. So I think that says a little bit of the dedication he has. But Boselli is just remarkable there. I mean, he's definitely going to be up there competing. The same can be said about Ruiz Diaz in Morelia. It's those kind of not noticeable names, but what Ruiz Diaz is doing in Morelia is just consistent. I mean, he's gonna put in the goals no matter what. It might be penalty or it might be on running play, but you're always gonna get goals from Ruiz Diaz. And I'm pretty surprised that Ruiz Diaz didn't make a move to a club like Cruz Azul, who's clearly lacking goals, no?
Yeah, that would be tough move for running. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think a certain amount of that has to do with the club play for, no? I mean, we just don't focus on those clubs, you know, like Morelia, like Leon a bit more, but not as much. I mean, it's just the reality of it. But yeah, what else this week? Chiquis Garcia out as problem manager, bottom of the league, 1 win in 10. Kind of accepted, but I don't know. I think Puebla's problems were a lot deeper than a manager, and they're not going to all of a sudden be moving up the table and into the playoffs.
Yeah. The squad is really poor. I mean, it's just it's not well constructed. I mean, I think that's the thing with Puebla. I mean, because for example, when you compare to Lobos WAP's squad might not be the most expensive, or it might be one of the most cheapest in the Liga MX, but it's well constructed. I mean, you can tell how much time Rafa Puente put into preparing the team to compete. You know, and it's actually competing. Puebla is just all over the place. It's like, oh, let's bring this player in and see what he can do. Let's bring this other player in and see what he can do. I mean, it's just poor management, no? And it's clearly going to affect them once this whole deal comes with the relegation. But something worrying to see is Querétaro. Querétaro is actually now down there in the relegation zone. And Querétaro was sold to us as this project that was long-term vision and that it was going to work out and that the results were going to come in. But I think over there in Querétaro, they should start to worry about relegation and finding ways to avoiding it, because I like the idea. I mean, they're debuting great players. I mean, Aldo Arellano, Irizar, Cordizo are several of the youth products brought up in Querétaro, but the results are not there. The results are saying that the club is in huge trouble in the coming weeks.
I think it's a bit right now is that you've got certain teams, and quite a lot of them now. Obviously Tigres are the kind of flag bearer of just spend loads of years scouting in Europe, and they don't care. This season, and America have also done it with some of their new signings year or so. They're going out buying absolute top South American players, or even going to Europe and buying players. And you look at Santos Laguna, for example, who have given a lot of young Mexicans players and good players. Players like Sandoval, who are already good players but can go on to be really good players, and the likes of Jorge Sanchez. A lot of good players. Yeah, and Ulises Rivas. And you look at kind of Querétaro as well, with in there, with Arellano, with Irizar, and you think it's a similar thing going on there. There are more younger Mexican players. It's not work. Just by the very nature of it, when you bring through younger players, it's going to take time, and it's complicated. I mean, Atlas are not too far off the same idea as well. It's complicated. I mean, Pachuca as well have got the same philosophy, but Pachuca have got a golden generation, or they've had a golden generation. With Lozano, Gutierrez, Pizarro coming, and now there's a new batch. But I think it's a fundamental now with the amount of quality foreign players coming in, is that teams that kind of have that philosophy, blooding young Mexicans and aren't going to spend. I mean, if you look at the foreigners in Querétaro, there's not big names.
No.
Everaldo, the Brazilian, Candelo, the Colombian, Perez, Colombian, Jonathan Bornstein. I mean, apart from Volpe, some of the best foreigners in the league. So you mix some kind of players with some promising young Mexicans, and you look at the squad and you think, well, for me, it's not a surprise that Querétaro are near the bottom.
No, and it makes it complicated. I mean, I think, like you said, Tom, starting off, it's never easy. I mean, I think when Pachuca started this project of giving minutes to youngsters, I mean, it was difficult. I mean, it was really, you could tell the difficulties that they were kind of facing. They weren't as competitive as they are today, but they survived that, But with Querétaro, when you see the relegation points and all that, I mean, it kind of messes up the planning, because you got to rush, because if you don't start getting the points, you're gonna get relegated, and then what does that happen? You lose money. The investment goes low. I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see what Querétaro does in the coming weeks, because, like you said, I mean, it's nice. The idea is nice. I mean, it's really it's valiant. I would say it's risky, but especially in a league like the Mexican, where the foreigner has more power than the Mexican footballer. But I think at the end, it will depend exactly on how that mixture of youngsters with the foreigners that they bring in works out. But unfortunately, the attack is really primitive. With it's not working with Zambeso and Villa. They're not putting in the goals. Benitez got in a fight with Erwin Trejo after a match just several weeks ago. So I mean, those type of situations complicate things. But any closing thoughts, Tom, on Liga MX as we move already to, we're over the middle of the season, but with all these suspensions and these movement of dates, I mean, there's going to be a lot of games in October, and I don't know how that's going to work with teams, specifically with teams that will have players going to the World Cup qualifiers in South America, because over in South America is a different level. I mean, it's just so competitive, so stressful, and it's going to be really, really interesting to see how they're going to manage all these minutes in the coming month.
I would say, to be honest, already going to be in the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't see a massive. But yeah, it's been a strange season. I don't know. It's such a weird. It's like, it happens, and then there's games that get suspended, and much about it. And then obviously last season with the referees, but you know, the transfer was how it's in September, still get players on, you know, Bolaños last minute, Iturbe coming in, and it's almost like it really gets settled by mid-September. Start playing and it's like it's around, you know, most teams have played 10 games. Seeing for me, at least, you know, what teams are, if you know. That's still like Matty Fernandez went in the Caxa. You know, he started his first game in the victory, but you know, where's he fitting in long term? I mean, usually after 10 rounds of a season, you would know that answer.
Yeah.
With Pachuca, I mean, where's he going to fit in? So it's been a bit of a weird season, and I think I'm already looking forward to the playoffs, to be honest.
No, Tom, and look, this point that you bring up about the transfers being so late. I mean, I think the Premier League starting next season, they're gonna have a certain deadline, no, right? Before the season, you should already have your squad done. You know, no transfers after the season starts. And I think in Mexico they have to do the same. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, to set in players in week 10 and expect them to produce. I mean, it's not helpful for the rest of the team. I would say for the system that the team is trying to implement. I mean, because you clearly see, I mean, of course, the talent is there. I mean, for example, the fact that, you know, you got Xolos has Iturbe and Bolaños, it does extremely change their outlook of things moving forward. You know, I do understand that, you know, that's possible and that certain markets move differently, you know, but I just think that it just affects, no, the overall, also the display on the field. It's not the same, you know, when you have players that are trying to adjust to life in Liga MX.
Yeah, I mean, the other point is that, I mean, obviously you can see why they keep the foreign market open, so that you look at the players that arrived in August, and there's a lot of quality players, you know, even, you know, about like Bangioni from Monterrey, who came from Italy, played, you know, as a really top player for River Plate in Argentina. Coming through now, he's only just found his rhythm and found his kind of form and stamina with Monterrey. But for me, the biggest injustice is the way that the Mexican players are treated, because the Mexican players, when they've got a separate deadline.
Yeah.
So if they can't move after that date, then it's like the club's only option is to go to the external market. And I think that it's incredibly unfair. It's another thing from Liga MX's point of view, place that goes against the Mexican player, you know. And yeah, I think it's you get players that are just going to be on the bench, like the club they're in, because of the transfer deadlines in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely one of the things that it has to fix, and Liga MX, it has to fix many things. I mean, but it's still fun to watch. But Tom, any closing thoughts on your part? You know, I don't know if what you expect this week, or what is something that you look forward to in regards to, you know, Liga MX or Mexicans in Europe. I don't know, but tell me any closing thoughts.
No, I mean, yeah, a few things. Obviously, Atlas against Veracruz. I'll be at the game Friday night. It's a relegation battle, a real relegation battle, and I'm expecting it to be exactly that. You know, a hard game, a tight game, and a massive game for both clubs. And then apart from that, I don't know. I kind of say Chivas every week this season because I expect Chivas at some point to wake up. And wake up against Tigres, then it's game over for the playoffs. So, you know, I'd say that's a game not to miss. I mean, can Chivas suddenly wake up from nowhere? For me, the team that remains the strongest in Liga MX, Tigres. I don't think they can. I think it could be pretty ugly, to be honest, for Chivas over there in Monterrey on Saturday.
Yeah, no. From my part, I want to say that, look, if you have a chance to see Betis with Guardado, I mean, look at that opportunity. I mean, it's really exciting football that they want to play. I know it's early on in the season, but when you see them play, I mean, it's just that's how you want to see your team play. I mean, it looks really good on the screen. I mean, I think also make mention real quick on the if you've donated to the causes that are out there, the donation centers. I mean, there's been plenty of stuff going on since September 19. If you've gone to Chicharito's and Layun's fundraiser, or Diego Luna, Gael Garcia's fundraiser, I mean, I think, and you pitch in money, I think this country really appreciates it. And also, from my experience, I think something to mention and that is really special about Mexico is the solidarity, and the youth. I think the youth really stepped up, and that's really special to see, especially for the future of this country that we so much love. And I think if the future or the youth keeps pushing the way they did in the last week, which has been really remarkable. I mean, it's been a sight to watch. So keep your thoughts and prayers to Mexico. Mexico will pick itself up and come stronger than ever. But yeah, from Mexico City, Nayi Moran and Tom Marshall, ciao, ciao. Thanks for joining. To those 18 viewers that were there and hearing our thoughts throughout this hour about. So thank you, and have a good night. Ciao, ciao.